Recording in progress.
Hey there, it's Sam here from BMT School of Music, and in today's video lesson I'm going to be showing you a bit about playing grade 5 scales. It's quite a lot to cover in one video lesson, so I'm not going to be doing it all. I am actually winging this, and so I don't really know when I'm going to stop. But I'm going to give you a bit of a broad view of what's expected of you in the grade 5 electric guitar Rockschool exam, and then I'm going to work you through a few of those scales, maybe 2 or 3 to be honest, maybe 4 if we're lucky. Okay, so the first thing is I've got a PDF copy of the book here, so if we look at this, and we can see this Group A scales section here, and if we count them, there are 6 different scales, and something that I do feel sometimes is not quite explained in the book is that there's a lot of different positions for them. So apologies, because I seem to be skipping away from this. So what they ask is that you play them in, I think it was 10 different keys. And so we're just trying to find the bit before, oh actually I do need it on here. So we need them, it's not 10 different keys, sorry. So we have a look here, basically it asks for them to be played on the A string. It wants them to be played in the key of B, C and D. And if they're played on the E string, they're played in F, G and A. Okay, so I think they've actually sort of summarized all of that there. So, so that means that each scale is going to be played in 6 different keys. And there are 6 different scales, so that means that there are 36 scales to learn. However, there is a little bit of a hack, because obviously transposing those keys can be quite easy. You can just move them up. So so F, G and A, B, C and D. So nice and easy, all natural notes. Let's just do that on the whiteboard a second. So we need to do them on the E string. We're going to do them in the keys of F, G and A. And that means that you're going to play them on frets 1, 3 and 5 on the bottom E. So let's just mark out those notes there. So fret 1, that's your F. Fret 3, that's your G. Fret 5, that's your A. So there's your root notes that 3 of the scales are going to come from. And next bit, we're going to do the A string. And on the A string, you have to play notes B, C and D, which are on frets 2, 3 and 5 on the A string. So fret 2 for B. Fret 3 for C, and fret 5 for D. And another thing that I normally do is I usually actually start with the easiest scale, because I think it's just good to get the ball rolling. So if we go to this next page here, apologies, I am not actually the best at using Adobe for doing this. The pages will sort of suddenly disappear. So F major, natural minor scale, harmonic minor, major pentatonic, minor pentatonic and major pentatonic, and then the blues scale. So the easiest scale in the whole of this grade is actually the minor pentatonic scale. So we're actually just going to start off with that one. And the example here is in G minor pentatonic. So if you are working at grade 5, you should pretty much be able to sight read that from there. It's in 3rd position. So you'd line up your first finger with fret 3 and so forth. And then you would play from the first note. Do pause and rewind if that's a little quick. But like I say, if you're working on grade 5, you should know the minor pentatonic scale already, and you should be able to sight read tab at that level. And because that starts on the fret 3 of the bottom E, that means that it is a G. So that scale is G minor pentatonic. So here's the really easy thing about doing this in the key of A and the key of F, is you're just going to move that same scale pattern down to fret 1. So if I do it from fret 1, which will be frets 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1. Note they don't normally add that. Quite often when you're improvising and playing the scale, but they just do it to there, which is what I call root to root, because that's an F, and that's an F. So you're going... It's a bit more formal. So that's your F minor pentatonic. Next one we're going to do is A minor pentatonic, and give you 5 seconds to try and work out what fret A minor pentatonic should start off on. Drum roll. If you said 5, then brilliant, you're right. And if you didn't say 5, then you just need to rewind a little bit. Go over your theory a little bit more. So A for A minor pentatonic, so it's going to be fret 5, 8. Then 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 8. And then just 5 on the top E, and then back down. So let's conclude that a little bit. If I'm practicing and learning my my minor pentatonic scale for grade 5 Rockschool Electric Guitar, to do it on the bottom E, I have to play from frets 1, 3 and 5, which are the notes F, G and A. So as a routine, I would go through that one, forwards and backwards, all alternate picking, all correct finger position. Then I do it here as well, that's my G, and here for A, like that. So now we're halfway through learning one of the scales. We've done 3 out of 36 scales, or 3 out of 6 that we need to do for one scale. I hope that makes sense. So now what we need to do is we need to do it on 3 more notes. On the A string, we need to be able to do it on B, C, and D. Now this means you're going to have to learn a different pattern. And there are a few different ways of doing this. One thing they don't have in the Rockschool books is they don't have an example pattern for you to follow. I think they do another book that you can buy that has every single technical exercise, every single scale for every single exam. I did have it once, I lent it to a student and they never gave it back. That's okay. I'm not going to name shame you. So B, we know that fret 2 is a B. And we're just thinking the easiest way to play this, I think what I've normally done is this pattern here. Another one is this. Doesn't always sound as smooth. So I'm going to go fret 2 on the A. So that's my B. I'm going to go into second position. So I'm only doing this by rote. I have no tab for this at all. So I'm going to go 2, 5. What I like to call Daddy Bear. Then I'm going to go to the D string and I'm going to go 2, 4. I'm going to do the same on the G. So far it's exactly the same as the regular minor pentatonic scale pattern. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So that's 2, 5 on the A, 2, 4 on the D, and 2, 4 on the G. So this is where it gets a little bit funny. You're going to come out of this position. What you're going to do is you're going to go into third position for the B string and you're going to play frets 3 and 5. Then what you're going to do is you're going to shift on the third finger up into fifth position and play fret 7 with your third finger. So without thinking about finger positions and third position, fourth position, fifth position, whatever, you basically think of one string. So simplify this, right? So you go to the B string and you go 3, 5, 7, like that. 3, 5, 7. That's with fingers 1, 3, and 3 again. It can be quite tempting to go, I'm going to be really clever and do this. You can. It doesn't ever work as well. It's better to do it like this. And you'll see a lot of rock guitar players, they shift around rather than create nimble fingerings quite often. So we've got that string. Now we're in that fifth position and the last 2 notes are 5 and 7 on the top E. And if you do this correctly, with the correct fingering, you line yourself perfectly for that top E string. So let's recap that a little bit. So the first octave, A string, 2, 5, then 2, 4 on the D, 2, 4 on the G, shift position into third position and go 3, 5, shift position with the third finger up to fret 7 on the B, and then in that fifth position 5 and 7 like that. Here is a little bit faster. That was it backwards. When you go backwards, you're going to find this feels a bit weird because actually you can shift on that third finger, but I tend to shift with the first finger back again. And the way that I kind of think of this is that if you look at your fingers, whatever direction you're going in, you'll tend to lead that position shift with the finger that is going that's facing that direction. So I'll shift position downwards on the first finger and upwards on the third finger. It might seem illogical because you're having to change the fingering for going backwards. Here comes a train, and it's a small one this time. I'd say 2 or 3 carriages on that one, maybe. Not the 40 carriage quarry trains that sometimes come past. So down with the first finger and up with the third finger. So as I'm going backwards, like that, then I shift down to fret 3 with that. Then it feels a bit weird when you come here because the fingers squash together and you go 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 5, 2, like that. I am really quite strict with fingering. If you watch this video and you play this with a slightly incorrect fingering, even if you do it really well and you came back to a lesson with me, I'm going to correct it because I know that you're going to be much more successful playing stuff fast, playing stuff fluidly, playing stuff accurately if you just follow to the letter the standard fingering that works the best. It really does. The logical way to think of it sometimes is that if it feels really hard and feels really wrong, that's actually a good thing, because if you scale things down, when you first start playing the guitar, everything feels wrong and everything feels hard. So don't feel like just because you have a fairly established technique at grade 5 that you should be making up fingerings, because you will trip yourself up in the wrong one. Anyway, so that is B minor pentatonic. And what we're going to do for this lesson, I've decided we'll only cover this one scale, but we're going to cover it very thoroughly, some other tips for practicing as well. So now you've got your F minor pentatonic, G minor pentatonic, and A minor pentatonic. And now you've got your B minor pentatonic, which is this different pattern. So practice that until you really start to get to grips with that, because the next bit is to learn how to play that in the last two keys, which are C and D. And all we have to do for that is the same as what we did for the ones on the E string. We just have to move the B pattern up 1 fret to fret 3 for C minor pentatonic. There's that first octave, shifting position by 1, moving up with the 3rd finger, playing the 2 remaining notes like that, backwards, shifting position down with the 1st finger, back in the 3rd position like that. If you play that little clip back 10 times, I guarantee you'll get that without me explaining it too much, because if you've got the first pattern, this is just a case of transposing. You'll have a strong ear at grade 5 as well, so you'll be able to hear if you slip out of position. Quite commonly people do something like, you can hear that. That doesn't sound right. And then last one, D. Same thing. Just moving that pattern, fret 5, so 5th position, 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7, shift into 6th position, so 6, 8, move up the 10 with the 3rd finger, then 8, 10 on the top E, backwards, moving down with the 1st finger, back in the 5th position like that. So then you'll have F, minor pentatonic, G minor pentatonic, A minor pentatonic, on the A string, B minor pentatonic, C minor pentatonic, D minor pentatonic. Right, if you are doing a standard in-person grade exam, they're going to pick scales at random from all 36. So quite often what they'll do, they'll probably ask you to play maybe 4 scales, maybe 6. I think it's usually around 4. They'll pick a random scale type, and they will pick a random key as well. And you've really got to know your theory. You've really got to be good at being spontaneous. Now, the upside to this is in terms of actually performing in your exams, you don't have to perform very much. You'll only play a small handful of scales. The downside to this is that any scale that you play wrong has a bigger effect on the percentage of scales that you get right. So if I translate that a bit differently, if you play 4 scales and you get 2 wrong, you get 50% of your scales wrong. Now, if you do a video exam, which is the main thing I do with all of my students now, all you have to do is pre-record yourself playing every single scale. Now, that might seem laborious, but that's what you have to do in your practice routine anyway to prepare for any scale to be randomly picked in a standard in-person exam. So literally all you're doing is you're just performing your practice on video. If you get the odd blunder, it makes such a smaller difference. You have 36 scales and you play 2 wrong. I don't know what that is percentage-wise, but it's quite low. It's probably, I don't know, out of 100, 2 would be 2%. So out of 50, 2 would be 4%. So it is about 5 or 6%, I guess. Somebody's watching this now saying your maths is awful, but hey, I'm really good at exams, so I don't care. So minor pentatonic scale. And you've got to practice all those keys. And in your exam, if you do in person, you'll be randomly selected scales from all of them. You might not even be asked minor pentatonic scale. But if you do a video exam, you'll just have to play them all along to a metronome. Let's check what the tempo is. Now, a couple of little tips that make my practicing more fun. So it's 80 beats per minute. So the easiest way to ever get that is to go to the internet. I don't even own a metronome. I've never owned a metronome. I've only ever used things like, give me a second.
Recording in progress.
I've only ever used things like drum machines on multi-track recording systems that I forgot really. So metronome. So just Google metronome. Google has a metronome built into Google. Just make sure to share the sound here. So let's set this to 80 beats per minute and get an idea how fast that sounds. It's not that fast. We'll press play. Hopefully this is going to sound all right to you. So that's the speed, but you're going to play them as quavers. So there's going to be 2 notes in every beat. So you've got that 1, 2, 3, 4. It'll be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So the G minor pentatonic scale will be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. That's your exact tempo. So my 2 tips for making scale practice more fun. Number 1 is use distortion or effect. That's going to make it sound way better. And number 2 is use drum beats on YouTube. So if I just go here, you don't want any shuffle drum beats. That's going to make you sound different. But I would just go to YouTube and I would type in the search something like, let's say, rock drum beat, and you want to specify your number of beats per minute, 8 beats per minute. There'll be a ton up there. You can find one you like. I'm literally just going to click the first one. I think I've used this before. Etc. I will play that along. Hope it sounds okay. If I sound like I'm playing slightly out of time to the drums, it's just because of the way that the internet and Zoom works, and they're not quite synchronized. And that is it for your video lesson on grade 5 scales. So it's actually, really just an overview of how those scales are supposed to be prepared in your exam. But in this video, I've just taught you how to play the minor pentatonic scale. Once you get that 1 down, you got 5 more to go, but it's just a case of learning the 2 different patterns, because there are 2, one for the E string, one for the A string. There are a couple that are in open position. So I think there is one, I think F major, that uses open strings. Are there any others? I told you that I don't know how to flick through these books on here. A harmonic minor, G, D major pentatonic, B blues scale. There's only that F. That F means that you have 3 patterns to learn for that one. In terms of going forward from this video any further sort of independently, you really either have to buy that book with all the scales in it or go through it with your teacher. There are probably a ton of other videos on YouTube as well that cover grade 5 Rockschool scales. I mean, these scales are the same as the syllabus from 2012. Okay, take care and goodbye.